Hi guys, this is Johnny Bergen with another Chicago Blues guitar lesson. Some of you may recognize that tune. It's Woman Don't Lie by Luther Snakeboy Johnson, also called Luther Georgia Boy Johnson. Now this is probably the only lesson on YouTube about this wonderful guitar player. And before I go any further, I'm going to clear up a couple of things. It's not Luther Guitar Jr. Johnson, who also played with Muddy Waters, and to make matters even more confusing, he also lived in Boston. They both lived in Boston. So this is Snakeboy. And there's another Luther Johnson who this is not. This is not Luther House Rocker Johnson. All great guitar players. And his real name was Lucius Brinson. But love this guy. And one more thing, I would love to thank Mark Evangelos, who has played on a couple of records by Luther Snakeboy Johnson. They Call Me the Snake and Get On Down to the Nitty Gritty. Great records, if you can find them. He's credited as Martin Frisco, which was the name that Luther called him. And Mark has a band in Austin, Texas now, and he was very kind to discuss some bits about Luther Johnson's style. And it was great to talk to someone who actually played with him and saw him play and spent a lot of time with him. So thank you, Mark. So let's talk a bit about his fingering. Don't hurt yourself. But it seems like he used this second finger everywhere, even here on the 3 frets up. Let's say we're in B. We were doing Woman Don't Lie, right? So, which is, and it's funny on that. There's a great video of him playing this in France, and when he plays it, he uses his third finger to play the chords. And he goes up and down with his thumb. He's using his, for all his own solo stuff, it seems like he used his fingers just. So he did this. Notice how there's a little tug up here. This sounds a little bit without expression. Put a little tug in there. His playing's very tart. It has a lot of, it's tart and tense. But when he goes to do his solos, it's all this. Whoa, here we go. I'm sure you're saying, oh, wait a minute, slow down. So I'll slow down. But let me just say, his style is kind of like nothing you've ever heard before and everything you've heard before, because it's very, none of these notes are really radical or different. You know, and he's playing out of typical chords, and he's using that Magic Sam chord rather than the full ninth. You know, he uses, or just the ninth chord. So his chords are nothing really new. His notes, notice he doesn't do this. He does this. So does Freddie King. So he does this a lot. And then Billy Flynn uses that phrase sour. You got to make the notes a little sour, like, so you bend them a little flat and you tug them a little bit. Not just for Luther, not just Luther Johnson, but anybody in serious blues players. It's kind of, it's the way they put expression in it. So when you're doing that kind of bend there, instead of like, this is kind of like the typical way, but the way he goes. Notice it's all downs. He almost never goes up except when he might strum his chords like that. Kind of a Lurie Bell feeling. And then there's big John Lee Hooker, so it's a real percussive with the chord. Let's do a bit of Get On Down to the Nitty Gritty. Martin Frisco's on this, by the way. So I didn't always follow my advice because I'm really not used to just doing this. And it's kind of making a handicap to sound a little more rough and untutored. Because sometimes if you play it perfectly and effortlessly, there's no suspense in that. But when someone's really sweating, doing all downstrokes, and kind of, how do I say it? It's not as precise and supported when you're using your second finger. You kind of have a looser vibrato that way, because I hear a difference. I just like playing it when you want to sound a little more raw. So, because he was definitely raw. And the other thing that he had that was really special was the John Lee Hooker influence. The last record that he did is called Back on the Road Again, and it's pretty much just him solo. And then there's 3 songs with him, which is Johnny Shines, and it just shows that mean right hand. He was just great at that kind of thing in E and in A. And I do think if he had lived, he would have enjoyed the same kind of career that Luther Allison had, for example. The stuff on Get Down to the Nitty Gritty, it's kind of like he ended where Luther Allison's first record on Delmark started. And he was just plagued by poor health all his life. He didn't even make it to 40, which is just awful. And just had tons of soul. The last thing I want to talk about, it's a really revealing clip that Muddy Waters live in 1968. And he's playing with a pick there. But the touch, it's got the warm touch to it because of his right hand. Because that's your soul, it's your right hand. So when he's doing a slow blues with Muddy at the beginning, and this is a great video for looking at Luther's style because it's even louder than Muddy. And so after the turnaround, he'll go like that. And it's like he's playing the bass lines, but he's playing the bass lines the way Jack Myers would play the bass lines. It's like they're really unchained, and it's like almost a deconstruction of the bass lines, It's very brooding, and it really added something. It put like a bit of a John Lee Hooker style in the Muddy thing, so it was looser and it was less structured than his band became in later years. So it's well worth listening to, and hope you guys enjoyed this look. It's more of a chat about Luther Snake Boy Johnson, or Luther Georgia Boy Johnson. I've been listening to him for the last 3 days, and I feel like I've sort of gotten to know him. And you can tell he definitely really wanted to make it. He's kind of a man of his time in a way. He was dressed like flamboyantly, kind of like in hippie clothes, and doing songs about the hippies and everything. And he really put it out there with a lot of force. It's just too bad about his poor health and his early death. So enjoy yourself. Thanks for watching, and do subscribe to my YouTube channel for weekly looks at the blues greats. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.